Part 8. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 71. Group D, which was only established for 1 day, was disbanded on the second day because it completed the task too quickly. Without a mission, Xiaoping'an could only train at the base every day like other demon suppressor guards, losing the qualification to go out. Fortunately, the coal boss in Xuanhuan was very cheerful. After only 2 days, on the afternoon of the third day, Yan Duo got the mission bounty, found Xiaoping'an, and transferred 10 million mission rewards to Xiaoping'an's card in person. After receiving the reward, Xiaoping'an didn't even touch the money. He called Xiaoning and transferred the 10 million reward to Xiaoning. "Brother, what are you doing? Why do you have so much money?" Xiaoning was frightened by this huge sum of money and called quickly. "I didn't do anything. Don't worry, the money came very cleanly. Don't think about where I work. I don't dare to transfer this dirty money to you. It will cause trouble for you." Xiaoping'an knows Xiaoning's head. Huali was thinking about something, so she had to give her a nod to stop her from thinking wildly. "When you say that, I feel relieved. There is no need to transfer so much to me. I can make money myself now. When I checked my bank balance just now, I was shocked when I looked at those zeros. I thought I was dazzled. I don't know how to take care of money. You can take care of this money for me. Well, I have something else to do, so I won't talk to you anymore. If you can't get through to me in the future, I might be on a mission. Don't worry, by the way, your summer vacation is about to begin. If you are still in Xianghe City during the summer vacation, remember to stay at the Guangzhou Hotel. Don't look for other places. If you want to go elsewhere with your classmates, remember to stay at Guangzhou Hotel. There's no need to save money for your brother in the hotel, remember?" "Okay, I remember, brother. I will keep this money for you first, and save it for me to find a sister-in-law." Xiaoping'an hung up the phone, and Yan Duo asked curiously, "Do you have a younger sister?" "Of course, my dear sister." Yan Duo rubbed his face. "I thought you would use the money to buy another world bead. A world bead doesn't make any fundamental improvement to me. It's just a matter of mastering one more technique and increasing my divine power. If the fusion fails, it might even fail, but this 10 million will make my sister no longer need it in the future. I don't need to worry about money anymore. Even if something happens to me, if a girl has 10 million by her side, 1 year's interest will be enough for her, so I can rest assured. Why does it look like you're announcing your funeral arrangements? No one knows which one will come first, tomorrow or the accident. I want to go to the training ground, are you coming?" Xiaoping'an has changed clothes in his room and is about to go out. "Haha, that place is suitable for newcomers like you, so I won't go there. I'll find you again if I have a mission." The two left Xiaoping'an's room. Yan took back his room. Xiaoping'an, who had changed his clothes, took the elevator and went directly to the underground comprehensive training ground. Xiaoping'an is still conducting an enhanced version of the 400-meter military obstacle training. This event is a huge test for physical fitness, and it can also exercise the human body's speed and adaptability to the greatest extent. Because the members of the Demon Suppressing Guard cannot leave the base at will, they will come to the training ground for various trainings during the past 2 days when they have nothing to do. There are also many people in the venue. Even the 400-meter enhanced version of the military obstacle training, not only Xiaoping'an is running alone. Everything was normal for the first 2 hours of training, but 2 hours later, when Xiaoping'an was returning to the starting point to rest for a while after running a lap, several uninvited guests quietly came to the training ground. Seeing Xiaoping'an resting here, the uninvited guests came directly to Xiaoping'an. "Haha, so you are here. I heard your name is Xiaoping'an, right? Are all the summoners in the Xianghe City Order Committee so useless? They can only train their ability to run away, Mu Qingchen said with a look on his face that he didn't want to be beaten. With a smile, he mocked Xiaoping'an in a condescending manner. Xiaoping'an put down the mineral water bottle in his hand and glanced at Mu Qingchen indifferently. Whether the summoner of the Xianghe City Order Committee has any talent or not, the scar on your face should be the clearest. Why, do you think that scar is that considered beauty to you? Mu Qingchen's eyes flashed coldly as he looked at Xiaoping'an. I never noticed you were so tough-mouthed before. I looked down upon you. It's not too late to find out now. Why, are you looking for something from me? I didn't want to do anything, I just wanted to tell you that Li Yunzhou's arm was accidentally broken by me in the fighting ring just now. He has been sent to the hospital now. I will wait for you in the ring tomorrow morning. If you want to avenge Li Yunzhou, come to me. If you don't dare to come, I can let you go like a fart. Mu Qingchen glanced at Xiaoping'an lightly, with a smile on his lips. With a sneer, he turned around and left. The fighting arena of the base is one floor above. Xiaoping'an has never been there. Li Yunzhou's arm was broken by Mu Qingchen, which probably happened just now. Private fights are prohibited in the base, and the punishment for daring to fight is very severe, but unarmed combat in the training ground is allowed. Xiaoping'an glanced at Mu Qingchen's back and stopped practicing. He left the training ground directly and went to the hospital at the base. He soon found Li Yunzhou lying on the bed in a room with his arms hanging up. Needless to say, the medical conditions at the base, especially the treatment of bone injuries, are absolutely top-notch. Li Yunzhou was brought here just over an hour ago and received treatment quickly. Apart from a bruised nose and a swollen face, and a broken arm, he seemed to be fine. For summoners, physical injuries, as long as they are not fatal, will not affect the performance of summoning spells. This is why the province allows summoners to compete in the ring. You can compete with fists and kicks, but don't kill people. But the competition between spells and weapons is, firstly, more dangerous, and secondly, it consumes everyone's divine power, so this must be strictly avoided. Seeing Xiaoping'an appear, Li Yunzhou looked a little embarrassed. Why are you here? Senior, I heard that you were injured while competing with others in the ring. Also, let me come and see if you are okay. Li Yunzhou started scolding him all of a sudden. Mu Qingchen, that bastard, when I get better, I will never let him go. Damn, I was careless this time. I didn't expect that bastard to start shaking recently and fused a bunch of Jizu. After experiencing several divine power initiations and cutting down the body, his strength has greatly increased, and his physical combat power is almost close to the 1 UN realm. I still underestimated him before, but this time I accidentally kicked my arm off. The level system of summoners is very complicated. Even now, even on the Earth, different countries and regions, or even summoner groups in the same country and region, have different opinions on the division of the summoner level system. And genres, difficult to unify. The 1 UN realm that Li Yunzhou mentioned was initially just a standard for classifying the physical combat power of the summoner's body. The so-called 1 UN realm refers to the summoner who has experienced the initiation of 210 points of divine power after the summoner's secret mandala has accumulated more than 210 points of divine power. The summoner's body is like a shackle being opened, and his physical strength and combat power will have an obvious qualitative leap compared to before. After passing 210 points of divine power, it is equivalent to passing a threshold. This is the 1 UN realm. If the divine power increases to 420 points in the future, it will be the dual realm, and if the divine power reaches 630 points, it will be the three-dimensional realm, and so on. Among the group of summoners, some summoners prefer to use the number of divine power points of a summoner to divide the strength level of the summoner, and directly use realms such as the one-dimensional realm, two-dimensional realm, and three-dimensional realm to divide the strength of the summoner's realm. Weak. But more summoners do not agree with this standard. Most summoners still feel that standards such as the one-dimensional realm and the two-dimensional realm can only classify the physical combat power of the summoner. This classification standard is closer to the classification standard of martial arts. The real ability of the summoner is not the physical combat power, but the summoning spell, and the power and effect of the spell cannot be divided by divine power. The most common problem caused by dividing levels based on divine power is that those summoners who have only integrated some divine power world beads but have not mastered many summoning spells may seem to have high levels and strong physical fitness, but in real battles, it is possible to be instantly killed by a low-level summoner using spells. In this case, there are more schools and standards for classifying various summoner levels. Some schools and standards recommend dividing the summoner by the number of fused world beads. The summoner who fuses 3 foundation building world beads is considered a first-level summoner. Those before the 3 are reserve summoners. The level of the summoner increases by 1 level with 1 divine world bead. But such a classification standard is also controversial. According to this standard, the world bead package you merged does not include the divine power world bead. Does the package include treasure world beads? Does the package not include some other special types of boundary beads? If the divine power world bead is not included, how is the strength of the summoner calculated by integrating the divine power world bead to increase the upper limit of the secret mandala's divine power? If it includes the divine power boundary bead, then there will also be logical errors like dividing levels by divine power. Other special world beads also have this problem. Moreover, the divine power points obtained after successful fusion of different world beads are different, and the spells summoned are also different. How can all the world beads be lumped together and generalized? Zhou Tianyi, the Chinese national master more than 1,000 years ago, only fused 7 world beads in his life, including the foundation building world bead. However, the 7th world bead that Zhou Tianyi fused was able to summon the powerful god at once. Received more than 500 points of divine power empowerment. The powerful god summoned by Zhou Tianyi directly opened the world-famous Tianshan Grand Canal in China in just 2 years, which is equivalent to the workload of millions of workers for decades, creating an unparalleled feat. According to the standard of dividing by the number of fused world beads, wouldn't Zhou Tianyi, the Chinese national master more than 1,000 years ago, only be regarded as a 5th-level summoner, who could be easily surpassed by many summoners? Is there a problem with judging summoner level based on divine power points? Is there a problem with judging the level of a summoner based on the number of fused world beads? Some people also think that the level standard of summoners should be measured by the evaluation standard, but who will evaluate it and how to evaluate it is an insurmountable problem. The militaries of some countries have relatively consistent opinions on this. The military standards are simple and crude. They directly use the number of characters that the summoner can summon to rate the summoner's level. For example, what is the class summoner, platoon summoner, and company summoner? Level summoners, battalion level summoners, etc., as well as legion level summoners. However, there are differences in the combat power and attributes of the characters summoned by the summoner. Some powerful summoned characters are unique. How can you summon a lot of them? Moreover, some summoners have developed special professions and are not good at summoning ordinary combat characters at all. For those summoners with special abilities and spells, this standard cannot be applied, and there are also huge limitations. Therefore, from the time Xiaoping'an became a summoner until now, he still doesn't know what level of summoner he belongs to. Even within the Great Yan Kingdom's Order Committee, the division of summoners' abilities only talks about basic salary. When it comes to level, those with strong abilities and completed more tasks will have a higher basic salary, it's that simple. As for using standards such as the 1UN realm and the dual realm to classify the summoner's physical combat power, there is no controversy. Everyone can understand and recognize it. Xiaoping'an was slightly surprised to hear that Mu Qingqian's physical combat power was approaching the 1UN realm, because as far as he knew, among the entire Xianghe City Order Committee, only Tupolu's physical strength was said to be close to the 1 UN realm. That Mu Qingchen's physical strength is almost approaching the 1 UN realm. It's absolutely unmistakable. Lao Tu and I have also tried it several times in the ring. Lao Tu's body is already strong. Coupled with the effect of divine power inflicting body cutting, his physical strength is almost close to the 1 UN realm, and that guy is the pressure on me in the ring is almost the same as that of Lao Tuesday. By the way, is he looking for you? Yes. Don't go. That bastard has long said that he will send all the summoners of Xianghe City Order Committee to the hospital. You are no match for him now. You have to go. It would be embarrassing for both of us to lie here. I lost Dafa. Li Yunzhou quickly stopped him. Don't worry, senior, you have a good rest, I know it well. After chatting with Li Yunzhou for a few words and comforting him, Xia Pinggan left the hospital. Just after leaving the hospital, Yan Duo called, "Does that trash Mu Qingchen inspire you to compete in the ring tomorrow?" Xia Pinggan's eyebrows moved. How did you know? He has already spread the word, and everyone in the Demon Guard knows it. If you don't go tomorrow morning, I will slap you in the face. You will not be able to hold your head up and behave in the future. If you want to go, I will slap you people. Maybe you will be like Li Yunzhou. If you are injured, maimed, and hospitalized by him, your entire Xianghe City Order Committee will be embarrassed. That trash has grievances with several summoners of your Xianghe City Order Committee. The scar on his face is what Lao Tu left before, you know this. I know this. By the way, are you familiar with that Mu Qingchen? That guy had some bad luck. He fused a treasure world bead and became a caster. He is already able to cast swords. His identity is different. He is also the son-in-law of the Gao family, and he is in the summoner circle in Yizhu. He is very popular here, and the reason why he joined the demon suppressing guard this time is to gain credit and gain seniority to pave the way for the future. He is very ambitious. It sounds like Mu Qingchen will be difficult to deal with. Hey. Yan Duo laughed strangely on the phone. How about we make a deal? As long as you agree to hang out with me in the future, I will go on stage in advance to maim that guy to save you from embarrassment. What about this suggestion? Do you want to think about it? Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 72. Unexpectedly, that guy Yan Duo would actually make such a suggestion. Xia Pinggan couldn't laugh or cry, and didn't know whether he was offering help in times of need or taking advantage of others. That guy's physical combat power is about to reach the 1 UN realm. Can you beat him? My physical combat power has long been in the 1 UN realm, but I have always kept a low profile and don't want to advertise it everywhere. Do you think I can beat him? Yan Duo's voice on the phone was a little proud. What if I didn't have two weapons? Brush, how could the old man let me form a Yanzi camp? Xia Pinggan had never seen Yan Duo take action. He didn't expect that Yan Duo's physical combat power had actually reached the 1 UN realm. This surprised Xia Pinggan. Aren't you afraid of offending the Gao family and Mu Qingchen? I have long disliked that trash. As for the Gao family, if you offend me, you will be offended. Although the Gao family is powerful, Yizhu province is not the Gao family's sole authority. The Gao family should also think about the consequences of offending me, Yan Duo. I'm afraid of him. Yan Duo's tone was very confident. Thanks, I can handle this myself. By the way, there should be surveillance video in the fighting arena above, right? Of course. Send me the surveillance video of the fight between Mu Qingchen and Li Yunzhou. Okay, I'll bring it to you in a while. One more thing to ask of you. Didn't we see a Divine Power World bead last time we went to the Facebook club? It's worth 5.8 million. After fusion, it can be used to empower the body and increase some strength. Ah, I don't have any money, don't worry about me. Yan Duo immediately called out on the phone warily. Only 5.8 million, Don't you still have 10 million? Ah, what are you saying? I can't hear you. I'm about to enter the tunnel. The signal here is not very good. Regardless of what Yan Duo yelled on the phone, Xiaopingan continued, just think of it as you lending me 5.8 million to help me buy the Divine Power World bead. I will pay it back to you when I make money from the next mission. Otherwise, if you have any money-making missions to find demon spirits in the future, don't come to me. Xiaopingan immediately hung up the phone. Do. In the room, Yan Duo listened to the blind tone coming from the phone, his eyes twitched twice, and he started to curse, you bastard, do you think that I, Yan Duo, am your assistant? It's such a shame, you gave your sister the money you earned, but I have to lend you the money to buy the world beads. What kind of bullshit is this? You want to borrow money from me and you want me to help you with your work. Why don't you just rely on your having a good dog? I don't care about bastards who rely on a dog's power. I can still make money without you. You are still waiting for me to lend you 5.8 million yuan to buy world beads, and I will buy you shit. When Xiaopingan left the hospital, he met many summoners from the demon guards on the road. The way those summoners looked at Xiaopingan was different from before. Mu Qingchen has announced that he will accept Xiaopingan's competition in the ring tomorrow. There are only a few demon-suppressing guards, and the news spread instantly. Mu Qingchen did this to deliberately make Xiaopingan unable to advance or retreat. Mu Qingchen is very popular in the circle of summoners in Yizhu, while Xiaopingan has not been a summoner for a long time until now. Among the summoners of Yizhu Demon Guard, they are not very eye-catching. Not many people knew about what he and Yan Duo had done before. In the eyes of many people, whether Xiaopingan goes on stage tomorrow or not, Mu Qingchen is determined to slap them in the face this time. In the old man's office, Mu Qingchen broke Li Yunzhou's arm in the ring today, and has already announced that he will accept Xiaopingan's challenge in the ring tomorrow. The old man raised his eyes from behind his desk and looked at the assistant Pan Lin who reported the matter to him. Frowning slightly. Pan Lin has short hair, dark skin, and a body as tall as a javelin. He is extremely lean. He is also one of the summoners of Yizhu province, and he is also the old man's assistant and driver. The people of the Gao family are indeed too domineering. Mu Qingchen deliberately angered Li Yunzhou, forcing Li Yunzhou to come off the field to compete with him, and then kicked Li Yunzhou's hand off. Now he wants to force Xiaopingan to play. He is emboldened. The grievances between Mu Qingchen and Xianghe City made a big fuss back then, and everyone was blaming each other. Mo Yanshao and the others accused Mu Qingchen of wanting to kill their colleague Qing during the mission, while Mu Qingchen accused Qing of betraying him, having a male-female relationship with the summoner around him, and even asked other men to beat him up. As a result, Mu Qingchen and Xianghe City are in the same situation. Old man, you should also know that this matter has spread, and it will be difficult for us to stop it. If it is not stopped, Mu Qingchen has been baptized by more than 180 points of divine power and will soon reach the 1 UN realm. Xiaopingan will probably have to go to the hospital. By then, the two summoners from the Xianghe City Order Committee will they're all in the hospital. It's not going to be easy. The old man pondered for a moment and said, there is nothing difficult to do. Summoners are not flowers that grow in a greenhouse. Two summoners fight fair with bare hands in the ring. Bloodshed and injuries are inevitable. As long as no one is killed, this is the demon suppressing guard. Even if you know you are going to lose, a summoner who doesn't even have the guts to step into the ring is a loser. I understand, Pan Lin nodded. Well, by the way, one more thing. Yan Duo just went to the monitoring room and copied a video of the fighting arena. Oh, really? The old man frowned. Then for tomorrow's contest, I'll go and see if it's a dragon or a snake. I'll know if it's a dragon or a snake. Do you think there is any suspense about tomorrow's contest between Xiaopingan and Yan Duo? Yan Duo's physical fitness should have completely surpassed Xiaopingan's. The old man smiled slightly. In a martial arts competition, before the physical fitness of the two sides has not widened the decisive gap, and the disparity is not big, if it is just to compare physical fitness, then what kind of arena is there? Everyone will take out the physical test results to determine the winner or loser. That's all decided. Before Xiaoping'an returned to his room, he received a call from Mo Yanshao. Li Yunzhou was hospitalized after his hand was broken by Mu Qingchen in the ring, Mo Yanshao asked as soon as he opened his mouth. The news spread very quickly. I just came out of the hospital. Li Yunzhou is fine, but he will have to hang his arm for a few days, Xiaoping'an replied. It seems that this matter is a bit big. You are not Mu Qingchen's opponent yet. He has experienced many more divine power initiation points than you, and his physical fitness is far superior to yours. You don't have to go up tomorrow. I'm sorry. I didn't expect what happened back then. You got involved. Mo Yanshao's voice was a little apologetic, but behind his voice, Xiaoping'an heard two Polus scolding at the side, that bastard, I should have castrated him directly in the first place. I didn't expect that bastard is still here. He started to tremble, he actually dared to cause trouble for us. I'm also a member of the Order Committee of Xianghe City. If I don't go up tomorrow, I won't be the only one who will be embarrassed. Don't worry, at worst, I'll just break my arms and legs. This is a demon suppressing guard. He didn't dare to take my life, he was about to be injured, and I just went to the hospital to keep Li Yunzhou company, Xiaoping'an said in an indifferent tone. Mo Yan was silent for a while. You are now transferred to the demon suppressing guard, and we can't get involved for the time being. No matter whether you are on the job or not, we will support you. Don't worry, I will take care of it. After hanging up the phone, Mo Yanshao looked at the other people in the office and said, Xiaoping'an will take the stage tomorrow. Sorry, this has caused trouble to everyone, and Qing was also in the office and said a little embarrassed. Xiao Qing, this is not your problem, it's that scumbag Mu Qingchen who bullied others too much. Lu Na blew out a smoke ring and crushed the cigarette butt in her hand. How about we just find an opportunity to set up a trap? Get rid of that trash Mu Qingchen. I agree, Tupolu said directly. For the sake of a scumbag, you hooked all of us up, and made us all wanted criminals by the Order Committee, and turned each of us into a fallen summoner. What is your bad idea? Let me make it clear first, don't count me among them, Chen Yishan said while wiping his glasses. Lu Na glared at Chen Yishan. Uncle, you are becoming more and more timid. It's not that I'm timid, it's that I think that scumbag's life is not worth more than mine. I still want to live in peace and stability until I can get my retirement salary. Nana is speaking out of anger. We have no way to intervene in this matter now. The Mu Qingchen now is no longer the Mu Qingchen before. After he fused the treasure world bead, he can cast magic weapons. With the support of the Gao family, he can. There are also many people around who admire his smelly feet, so it's not that easy to touch him. I know that there is a summoner in Xianghe City who is selling a Luoyang World Pearl recently. Although the success rate of Luoyang World Pearl fusion is not high, even if it fails, there will be no death. Fang Lingshan, who had been silent, suddenly said, how about we bought the world bead and sent it to Xiaoping'an? If he fuses it, it should be helpful to have one more chance to infuse his body with divine power. Lingshan's idea is good. This is how to help. Mu Qingchen, that trash, is planning to hit me in the face this time. I will count my share of the money to buy the G Pearl. This incident originated from me in the first place. I'm already very embarrassed for involving everyone. I won't bother you all anymore. I'll pay for it, and Qing said. And Qing, this is no longer your matter, but the matter of the entire Special Operations Department. Mu Qingchen is going to slap our entire Special Operations Department in the face this time. We can't just sit idly by, Mo Yanshao said, and then looked towards Fang Lingshan said, "Lingshan, please contact the summoner. We will buy the boundary beads as soon as possible and send them to Xiaopinggan by helicopter. We will try to deliver them before dark today." The competition between Xiaopinggan and Mu Qingchen affected many people. 2 hours later, Yan Duo sent Xiaopinggan a USB flash drive and a box containing the boundary pearl with a stinky face and curses. "Thanks," Xiaopinggan said with a smile. "Thank you. Remember, these 5.8 million world beads are my hard-earned money, and I have to calculate the interest. It is easier to fuse this world bead and die. If you dare to fuse this world bead and die, I will find you." Your sister goes and asks for money. Yan Duo, this guy, didn't let up at the critical moment. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 73. As soon as Yan Duo left, Xiaopinggan inserted the USB flash drive sent by Yan Duo into the computer. Soon, the computer displayed the scene of the fighting arena. There are dozens of arenas in the fighting arena, as well as various fighting training facilities. The fighting in each arena is in full swing. Is this the monitoring when Mu Qingchen and Li Yunzhou were competing in the ring? Xiaopinggan murmured to himself. The surveillance picture was very clear. From the surveillance picture, it could be seen that Li Yunzhou was competing with another person in a ring wearing protective gear at the beginning. Both parties were very restrained and clicked until the end. Is to exchange fighting experience. But then, Mu Qingchen came to the training ground with 2 people. After seeing Li Yunzhou, he jumped directly onto the ring. After saying a few words to Li Yunzhou, he seemed to anger Li Yunzhou. Li Yunzhou took off his protective gear. After falling on the ring, Mu Qingchen also got on the ring and started to take off his clothes. There were many people around to watch the excitement, but after only a few minutes, the 2 sides began to compete in the ring. This time the fight was much more ferocious. Both of them were fast, accurate, and ruthless. It was like a life and death fight. Li Yunzhou was not weak among the summoners of Xianghe City Order Committee. Xiaopinggan had seen Li Yunzhou's skills, but compared with Mu Qingchen, Li Yunzhou did not last long. Mu Qingchen's power was too great, especially the leg sweep, which was very powerful and heavy. The force exerted by that leg was at least 1,300 kilograms, just like a knife and an axe. Li Yunzhou defended several times and received several moves. The whole person's rhythm was disrupted by Mu Qingchen's attack. In addition to the strength of his legs, Mu Qingchen's physical fitness, both in terms of speed and reaction, also surpassed Li Yunzhou. This is the advantage of physical fitness brought about by divine power initiation and body breaking. Unless one is born with divine power like Tupolu, for ordinary summoners, the difference in divine power values will indirectly reflect the physical fitness of both parties. Gap. A few minutes later, Li Yunzhou was kicked off his arm by Mu Qingchen. He rolled off the ring and fell heavily to the ground. This contest also ended. After watching the surveillance video, Xiaopinggan also understood why Mu Qingchen was so crazy. He did have the capital to be crazy. Next, Xiaopinggan slowed down the surveillance video and watched it more than 10 times at a quarter speed to see all the subconscious reactions of Mu Qingchen's body during every move and every attack, and every change in his expression. The degree of coordination of the body's muscles, standing posture, habitual movements, use of strength, habitual attack routines. After watching it more than 10 times at slow speed, he watched it more than 10 times at twice the playback speed. After reading it, Xiaopinggan closed his eyes and imagined an arena in his mind. It was him and Mu Qingchen on the arena. Xiaopinggan sat quietly for half an hour, as if in trance. Half an hour later, Xiaopinggan opened his eyes and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Then, he brought the Han Yang pretends to be deaf divine power world bead sent by Yan Duo to the practice room. After pricking his finger and drawing blood, Xiaoping'an's whole body turned into a light in a short time. Cocoon, enter the world of Jizu. Xiaoping'an opened his eyes and found himself in a study room. Sandalwood was lit in the study room, and there were 3 or 2 peach blossoms outside the study room. There was a cup of tea on the table in front of him. He also held a volume of Wang Wenzong Gong in his hand. He lowered his head and saw that he wearing official robes and official boots. His identity at this moment should undoubtedly be Han Yang. Prince Ning's brother should be coming soon. Just when Xiaoping'an had this idea in his head, footsteps came from outside the study. Your Majesty, King Ning's younger brother, King Yangzhu Digzhu, suddenly arrived and wanted to see you. The feud between Ning Wangzhu Dinpi and his brother was rumored in Jiangxi. Yang King Zhu Diansu was a commoner and had always hated Ning Wangzhu Dinpi. As the right censor of Ningdu, he was inspecting Jiangxi and Yang King Zhu Diansu came to visit. Never a good thing. At this moment, Xiaoping'an actually admired Han Yang's reaction. This world bead looks peaceful, but it has hidden murderous intent. Those who died after the fusion failed may not have imagined that the scene when this world bead comes out is actually no better than when the chaos world bead comes out and is surrounded by 2 saber-toothed tigers. It's easier to be in the quagmire, but it's more dangerous. Prince Ning, the royal family, is the most dangerous tiger in the world. The dangers of officialdom, where swords and death traps are invisible, are even more dangerous than in the primeval forests of ancient times. Tell King Yang that I am slightly ill and cannot see guests, Xiaoping'an said. Yes. Xiaoping'an continued to read in the study, but within a few minutes, his subordinates came again. Master Qi, King Yang is still in the living room, and he won't leave until he sees you today. He will sleep in the living room at night. Damn it, there really aren't many good ones among Zhu Yuanzhang's descendants. Go tell King Yang that I will be here after I change my clothes, Xiaoping'an could only say. After waiting in the study for a while, Xiaoping'an called his confidants and asked them to prepare in this way, and then slowly came to the living room. A man wearing royal robes, with a thin face and a domineering temperament was in the living room, milling around impatiently. Seeing Xiaoping'an's arrival, the man strode over directly. Han Yang has met King Yang. Xiaoping'an saluted the man. The man looked at Xiaoping'an aggressively from head to toe, and said angrily, I don't know what's wrong with Mr. Han, but even I am missing. Please forgive me, King Yang. I've been dizzy recently, with ringing in my ears, and I can't hear what others are saying. King Yang is talking to me right now, and I hear a buzzing sound, intermittent, and a little unclear. Han Yongwei was afraid of neglecting the prince, so he didn't dare to come out to meet guests casually. King Yang looked at Xiaoping'an and snorted with his nostrils, I know a few famous doctors. I will ask those famous doctors to diagnose Mr. Han someday. Ah, what the prince said, I can't hear you clearly. Can King Yang be louder? Xiaoping'an said to King Yang loudly on purpose. King Yang had no choice but to speak loudly again. Thank you, thank you. Xiaoping'an held his hands and invited King Yang to sit down and enjoy tea. The two chatted loudly for less than 2 minutes, talking about Jiangxi scenery. King Yang felt extremely tired. He had to say a sentence loudly 2 or 3 times before Xiaoping'an could barely understand it. It was too strenuous. King Yang, who didn't have much patience to begin with, didn't bother to talk anymore, and suddenly said loudly, to be honest, I came to Lord Han this time to tell Lord Han something important. Ah, I wonder what King Yang has to say. Prince Ning is going to rebel. What, King Yang, what did you say? Who is going to beg for food? Xiaoping'an asked, picking his ears. It's not who begging for food, I said, it's Prince Ning, who wants to rebel. King Yang looked at Xiaoping'an, and his voice became louder, Master Han is inspecting Jiangzi, is it possible that he doesn't care about such things? Don't you listen or ask? Xiaopinggan was shocked. What? King Yang said, King Ning is going to rebel. Good. This matter is no joke. King Yang must not joke about it. Who is kidding you? Now that you know about this, do you want to report it to the court? This is baseless, how can I explain it? King Yang continued to talk a lot, about how there were dragon chairs and dragon robes in Prince Ning's palace, raising dead soldiers, hoarding armors and weapons, and bribing officials. Balabala went on for several minutes. Ah, King Yang just spoke too fast. I didn't hear it clearly. Can you say it again? King Yang said it again. I still didn't hear clearly. Just now King Yang said that there was a dragon in Prince Ning's palace. This is too shocking. Who in the civil and military dynasties would believe it? King Yang was impatient and immediately lost his patience. I didn't say that Prince Ning raised a dragon in his residence. I meant that Prince Ning's residence has a dragon robe and a dragon chair. Prince Ning considers himself a real dragon and wants to rebel. What? Prince Ning is also deaf. Do you want His Majesty to send an imperial doctor? King Yang's eyes were burning, and he stood up as soon as he slapped the table. Are you listening to me? Xiaopingyan quickly stood up and apologized. King Yang, please calm down. I'll tell you that I'm deaf now and can't hear clearly. Why don't King Yang write down what he just said? I'll know it at a glance. Okay, bring me the pen and ink, and I'll write it for you. King Yang rolled up his sleeves and said directly. Come here, prepare some pen and ink, Xiaopingyan said loudly. After hearing Xiaopingyan's words, someone from outside carried the table directly to the living room. There were already pens, inks, paper and inkstones on the table, but the table was different from ordinary tables. It was a white wooden table. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 74. King Yang was in a hurry to write out King Ning's crimes, and he didn't pay attention to what kind of table it was. When he saw that the pen and ink had been lifted up, he picked up the pen and wrote a lot of Ning on the table. After blowing the paper dry, he handed the paper to Xiaopingyan. Master Han can see clearly now. King Ning is going to rebel. Xiaopingyan took the charge sheet and read it once, and immediately said seriously, if it is as King Yang said, I must report to the court that King Ning wants to rebel. Hearing Xiaopingyan say that he wanted to report to the court, King Yang was finally satisfied. He nodded and stood up. Okay, then I will wait for your news. Yang King Zhu Diansu left after saying this. Xiaopingyan shook his head as he watched Yang King Zhu Digzu leave, and then looked at the complaint written by Yang King Zhu Digzu against King Ning in his hand. This Yang King Zhu Diansu probably didn't expect that at this moment, he falsely accused Ning King Zhu Dinpi of treason and wanted to kill Ning King. Later, the imperial court sent an imperial envoy to investigate. He wandered around again, and after eating some sweet treats from Ning King, he and Ning King the relationship eased, and he denied that he had ever sued Prince Ning. He immediately pushed Han Yang onto the fire and almost made Han Yang guilty of estrangement and false accusation against the prince. But exactly 10 years later, in the 5th year of Emperor Yingzong's reign in the Ming dynasty, he would be arrested by the eunuch Lu Gao and falsely accuse him of having an affair with his mother and son. In the end, both mother and son were sentenced to death by Yingzong. In the past 10 years, things in the Ming dynasty were changing. The prince who once wanted to falsely accuse others was eventually falsely accused and died. Evil people will be punished by evildoers. King Yang Zhu Digzu finally became the first prince in the Ming dynasty to die at the hands of an eunuch. The law of cause and effect in history is sometimes such a drama. The sky has no eyes, and those who harm others will ultimately harm themselves. Han Yang can pretend to be deaf, but how can the sky be blind? Xiaopingyan said softly with emotion. Sir, If we can find out the case of Prince Ning's rebellion, it will be a great achievement. The counselor beside Han Yang immediately entered the living room from the side door. The master had been outside the door just now, and now he looked excited. What a great achievement! Xia Ping'an shook his head. This Prince Yi Yang's son-in-law might be Bai Ling's poisonous wine that seduces his soul. Originally, I didn't want to see King Yi Yang because I was afraid that he would cause trouble. Now this as expected, things are coming, and I can't even hide. Why do you say this, sir? What's your Majesty's last name? Zhu. What's Prince Ning's last name? Zhu. What's my last name? My lord, of course, my surname is Han. The counselor suddenly understood, and his face changed slightly. My lord, you are worried. In the royal affairs of the past dynasties, foreign ministers were involved, and some of them ended well. Regardless of whether King Ning wanted to rebel or not, King Ning's brother reported his brother, and the brothers of King Ning were not getting along. I, a foreign minister, got involved, which has already made the royal family ugly. Wei Yang, there are no good results. Then the Prince Yi Yang's son-in-law will be kept. I have so many brains that I dare not even report the news about rebellion reported by the prince to the court. Xia Ping'an had people put away the memorial written by King Yi Yang and the table on which it was written, and then wrote the memorial overnight, rushing 800 miles to report it to the court. Everything was as Xia Ping'an expected. The nonsense happened in the next 2 months. After receiving the memorial from Han Yang, the imperial court directly sent the imperial envoy to Jiangxi to investigate the rebellion of King Ning. However, when the imperial envoy arrived in Jiangxi, what they saw was Yi Yang Wangzhu Diangsu and Ning Wangzhu Dinpi have reconciled, and the two brothers are hugging each other and drinking together again. Yi Yang King Zhu Digzu never admitted that he had sued King Ning for rebellion, nor did he admit that he had approached Han Yang. Instead, he said that Han Yang framed him and King Ning in order to alienate the brotherhood between him and King Ning. When Yi Yang King Zhu Diangzi turned his back, Han Yang had already stepped into the gate of hell with 1 foot. The imperial envoy returned to Beijing to resume his duties. The emperor was furious and sent out an imperial envoy again, but this time the imperial envoy was sent to arrest Han Yang. The crime was to alienate and frame the prince, which was a fatal crime. When the imperial envoy who came to capture Han Yang came to Han Yang's house with a team of imperial guards, Han Yang took out the statement written by Zhu Digzu, the king of Yi Yang, and showed it to the imperial envoy. The handwriting on the complaint can be forged. If anything happens to Mr. Han, we can wait until we get to the capital prison to discuss it. The imperial envoy looked at the complaint and said calmly. The handwriting on the complaint can indeed be forged, but is there one thing that cannot be forged? What? The imperial envoy asked curiously. Han Yang asked someone to move out the white wooden table where King Yi Yang wrote his petition and let the imperial envoy have a look. This is the table on which King Yi Yang wrote this memorandum. I have always kept it carefully. Your Excellency will know it at a glance. When the imperial envoy took a look at the white wooden table, he saw that the ink marks on the white wooden table were exactly the same as the handwriting on the pleading, without any modification. This meant that the pleading was written on this white wooden table, and if the pleading was written, the handwriting is forged. It is difficult for the forger to completely imitate the handwriting of King Yi Yang in writing the petition. It must be modified and polished, and the traces of pen and ink left on the table will be different. After all, the imperial envoy had a reputation, and he couldn't do anything to confuse right and wrong. Knowing that Han Yang was framed, he finally returned to Beijing with only the complaint written by King Yi Yang and the white wooden table. The emperor looked at the document and the white wooden table and was speechless. This was a bad thing between the descendants of the Zhu family. It was unjustifiable to hold court ministers accountable for it. Therefore, the emperor no longer held Han Yang accountable. In addition, Prince Ning, I don't want to pursue it any further, so the matter will be settled. Han Yong suffered a catastrophic disaster and finally escaped with a white wooden table prepared by his cunning old man. The world of Jizu shattered in the blink of an eye. Xiaopinggan's consciousness returned to his secret mandala again, and 30 points of divine power suddenly appeared on the sky of the mandala temple. The righteous dog Black Dragon increased the upper limit of divine power in Xiaopinggan's secret mandala to 115 points. Now with these 30 points of divine power, the upper limit of divine power in Xiaopinggan's secret mandala has reached 145 points. There is also a hanging painting on a wall in the secret mandala temple. On the left side of the hanging painting is the scene where Han Yong asked King Yi Yang to write a false accusation against King Ning on the white wooden table in the living room when he was pretending to be deaf. On the right side of the painting, there is a scene where Yi Yang King Zhu Digzu and his son are sentenced to death. Yi Yang King Zhu Digzu is a cup of poisonous wine, and his mother is a white silk. There are 10 words on the painting. Han Yong can pretend to be deaf, but how can the sky be blind? After Xiaopinggan perfectly integrated this divine power world bead and enjoyed the divine power empowerment, he opened his eyes in the secret room. It was only around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Xiaopinggan stood up, and there was another explosion in the muscles, bones and joints of his body. After watching the surveillance video before, his certainty of winning was 50%, but now, as his physical fitness has improved, his certainty of winning has become 70%. Every time after fusing the world beads, the body would be very hungry and in urgent need of energy. Seeing that the world was almost done, Xiaopinggan went to the restaurant downstairs to eat. Arriving at the restaurant, Xiaopinggan received more attention. Everyone in the entire demon suppressing guard should know that most of those looking at Xiaopinggan were sympathetic. When a rookie who had just become a summoner faced off against someone like Mu Qing Chen, the outcome was obvious. Mu Qing Chen also came. When he saw Xiaopinggan, he deliberately came to Xiaopinggan, condescendingly, and smiled sinisterly, "Eat more today. It's hard to say whether you will have teeth tomorrow and whether you can still eat like this. You should also eat more," Xiaopinggan smiled. "It's no use being tough. I hope you can hold on longer than Li Yunzhou tomorrow." Mu Qing Chen glanced at Xiaopinggan and then left. The table where Xiaopinggan sat was empty, no one sat down. The other people here are not familiar with Xiaopinggan. At this time, no one wants to sit down and have dinner with Xiaopinggan, lest Mu Qing Chen misunderstand and inexplicably offend a caster with a big family background. In the restaurant, Xiaopinggan sat alone at a table, which was a bit eye-catching. After a while, the white-haired Yan Duo also came. When he saw Xiaopinggan, he took the dinner plate and sat down opposite Xiaopinggan without any scruples. He looked at Xiaopinggan twice with his eyes. Then he took a slight breath of air and asked in a low voice, "Is it done?" Xiaopinggan smiled slightly and nodded. Yan Duo was speechless. He originally thought that the success rate of Xiaopinggan's fusion of the divine power world bead would not be very high, and it would be good if he could survive. Unexpectedly, Xiaopinggan actually succeeded. This must be such good luck. Just after finishing his meal and walking out of the restaurant, Xiaopinggan's cell phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was young Master Mo Yan. "Go to the apron, we will give you a net world bead. If the net world bead fails to fuse, you will not die. If it succeeds, you can summon a net, and you will also have a chance to gain divine power and destroy the body. I will challenge you in the ring tomorrow. It will help." Xiaopinggan really didn't expect that young Master Mo Yan would send him a world bead. This was really a timely help. "Director, whose boundary pearl is this? We all pooled our money together to buy this for you. This is a matter for our entire Special Operations Division. You just need to perform well on stage tomorrow. Don't feel any pressure." After being picked on by Mu Qing Chen, he still gets this kind of treatment? Xiaopinggan's mood suddenly improved a lot when he came to the tarmac of the provincial headquarters. He saw a helicopter from the Xianghe City Order Committee had parked there. A familiar pilot asks Xiaopingan to sign for a small helicopter. After picking up the package, he drove the helicopter directly back to Xianghe City without stopping for a moment. Xiaopingan returned to his residence again with a small package in hand. He opened the package and found a box inside. When he opened the box, a glorious glazed boundary bead lay inside. There were 4 divine words on the boundary bead: net. Open 3 sides. So this is the world bead that summons the snare? Some time ago, I was still a slave of King Zhou of Shang. I didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, I would become the ancestor of King Zhou of Shang again. It's interesting. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 75. Xiaopingan sat on a carriage, which was pulled by 4 horses of the same color. A team of guards followed behind him. The guards held a large banner with the word Shang in their hands, majestic. Because it was an outing, the car was walking slowly on the road. This is in the suburbs, with fertile mountains and forests around the road and pleasant scenery. This is what Xiaopingan saw when he opened his eyes. Before walking on the road for 2 minutes, Xiaopingan saw someone setting up a net to catch birds in the wilderness on the roadside. Xiaopingan directly ordered the car to stop, and then walked towards the bird catcher. In the wilderness, 4 large nets were hung in the 4 directions of southeast and northwest. When Xiaopingan walked over, the bird catcher was still kneeling on the ground with his eyes closed and praying before catching birds, hoping that the ghosts and gods would help and let all the birds catch the birds. The birds crashed into his net. When the bird catcher finished praying and opened his eyes, he found that Xiaopingan and a group of guards had already walked in front of him. As soon as the man looked at Xiaopingan and the entourage and support around him, he recognized Xiaopingan's identity at the moment, and was so frightened that he quickly saluted Xiaopingan. "I have met Tang Ho." "What are you doing here?" Xiaopingan asked. The bird catcher was so nervous that he swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said, "Chi Tang Ho, I am catching birds." "I heard you pray just now. Do you hope that all the birds in the world will crash into your net?" "Yes." Xiaopingan looked at the 4 big nets in the wilderness. "You hang up 4 nets in this wilderness. The birds in the wilderness will hit your net no matter which direction they fly. You pray to catch all the birds in the world. Nets are placed on all sides in the southeast, northwest, and southeast. Even if it is a beast, we cannot kill them all. This will harm the peace of the world. I dare not disobey Tang Ho's order, but if I don't catch birds, how will I live? I will starve to death," said the bird catcher. "In the future, when you catch birds, you cannot set the net on all sides, but only on one side. You must leave 3 ways for the birds to escape. When you pray, you should tell the birds that if you want to fly to the left, fly to the left. If you want to fly to the left, fly to the left. Just fly to the right. You have left a way to survive in 3 directions. If you are tired of your life, you can fly into my net." After hearing what Xiaoping said, the bird catcher was sincerely convinced and immediately removed the 3 nets, leaving only 1. After seeing the bird catchers remove the nets on 3 sides, Xiaoping then said to the attendants around him, "Pass my order, from now on in the Shang Kingdom, all bird catchers can only lower the nets on one side, not all sides. Birds, leave 3 ways to survive. Even if they are beasts, they cannot be driven to death." "Yes." The world of Jizu then turned into light and shattered. In the secret room, Xiaopingan opened his eyes. He glanced at the time and said, from the time he started to fuse the world bead to the time when the fusion was completed, it took less than 10 minutes. It was too fast. And in the temple of his secret mandala, there is another pure gold relief. On the relief, there is the story of Shangtang's net opening on 3 sides. The big net on the relief, shining, is the summoning position of the net. In the caisson sky above the temple, 15 points of divine power were added, and the upper limit of divine power reached 160 points. This world bead integrates so easily. As long as people know the illusions, the integration is like an outing. Although the matter of opening the net on 3 sides was a small matter, it had a great impact on Shang Tang. According to historical records, after Shang Tang's order to open the net on 3 sides spread, the surrounding princes sighed, the virtue of Shang Tang. As for the beasts, so one by one the princes joined forces and defected to Shang Tang, and finally Shang Tang won the world. The 31 emperors of the Shang dynasty began with Tang and ended with Zhou. From opening the net on 3 sides to the final betrayal, the fate of the dynasty and the reincarnation of history always make people feel a little emotional. The next morning, Xiaopinggan came to the fighting training ground, which was already crowded with people. Almost the entire Yizhu Demon Guard came. No one wants to miss this great show today. Looking at Xiaopinggan walking to the training ground, many people look sympathetically at Xiaopinggan. No matter what, today Xiaopinggan can be regarded as famous in one battle in the Demon Guard. Not many people knew who Xiaopinggan was before, but now everyone knows that the Xiaopinggan is from the Special Operations Division of the Order Committee of Xianghe City. People were named and challenged by Mu Qingchen. The grievances between Mu Qingchen and the Special Operations Division of the Xianghe City Order Committee have been heard by all the summoners present. Today, Xiaopinggan is here and becomes the target of being slapped in the face by Mu Qingchen. Mu Qingchen is trying to regain the face he lost at the hands of Mo Yanshao and Tu Polu. Among the onlookers, a summoner murmured in a low voice. "Isn't this a bit too much? I should go find Tu Polu. Do you think he doesn't want to?" In a few days, Mu Qingchen will probably find an opportunity to defeat all the summoners of Xianghe City Order Committee one by one. He is building momentum now. When the momentum is enough, Tu Po there are only a few people like Lu and Mo Yan, so we can't be cowardly, and we can't even think about fighting him. I heard that the Gao family has prepared a bunch of world beads for him. He just relies on selling magic weapons, and he will slowly earn enough money to buy a bunch of world beads. The summoners who were watching were talking quietly, and Xiaopinggan heard them all. Mu Qingchen was already on a central ring in the training ground, already warming up. When he saw Xiaopinggan coming, Mu Qingchen stopped moving on the ring and watched Xiaopinggan walking over with eager eyes. Yan Duo came over and said, "Don't worry when you go on stage. I'm watching from the side. There are so many people and he doesn't dare to kill him. It's just a broken arm or a broken leg. That depends on your luck." Even Yan Duo felt that Xiaopinggan came to power to seek abuse. If weapons were used, Xiaopinggan's long whip was absolutely terrifying. Yan Duo had absolute confidence in Xiaopinggan, but when it came to unarmed fighting, Yan Duo still felt that Mu Qingchen was more sophisticated and tough. Under the gaze of everyone, Xiaopinggan came to the ring in the center of the training ground and gently rolled onto the ring. There was a commotion in the crowd. Xiaopinggan looked towards the entrance and saw that the old man had also arrived. When the onlookers saw that the old man was coming, they all made way for him. The old man came directly to the seats next to the ring and sat down. He said to the two people on the stage, "I came to take a look at such a lively thing, you don't need to worry about me." Although summoners have various summoning skills and spells, unarmed combat has always been a required skill for summoners. Summoners are by no means short of bravery. Today's rules are the same as yesterday. Compete on the stage, with bare hands. In fighting, as long as you don't kill anyone, I'll be the referee. Since the old man said so, then I'd rather be respectful than obey him. Mu Qingchen bowed slightly to the old man on the stage, and then looked at Xiaopinggan, his eyes suddenly cold. "Just don't say that I bully you for a while." "Old man, I just arrived and haven't warmed up yet. I need 10 minutes to warm up," Xiaopinggan said to the old man. The old man looked at Xiaopinggan with a deep look. "Okay, let's start after 10 minutes of warm-up." Xiaopinggan didn't speak, just nodded slightly to the old man, then began to take off his clothes, took off his coat and threw it on the edge of the ring. Mu Qingchen had already warmed up and was standing in the corner of the ring, staring at Xiaopinggan, eager to pounce on him in the next second. Xiaopinggan slowly twisted his waist, raised his legs, and jogged back and forth on the stage. He didn't seem to be in any hurry. Mu Qingchen watched Xiaopinggan jumping around under his eyes. After waiting for 10 minutes while suppressing his anger, he became a little impetuous. When 10 minutes were up, the two people stood in the ring, standing 2 meters apart, and nodded to the old man. "Let's get started." The old man nodded slightly. As soon as he heard the old man say start, Mu Qingchen's eyes flashed sharply as soon as his voice fell. When he saw Xiaopinggan leaning back, as if he wanted to keep a distance from himself, he didn't hesitate at all, stepped forward and said something in his mouth. He shouted loudly, twisted his waist, and his powerful and heavy right leg, like a whip, whipped directly towards Xiaopinggan's head. What exceeded everyone's expectations was Xiaopinggan. Almost at the moment when Mu Qingchen rushed forward and kicked his legs, Xiaopinggan, who originally leaned back as if to avoid, suddenly stepped on the ground. The force from his feet was transmitted to his body, and his whole body was shaken. In a flash of lightning, he quickly took a step forward and entered Mu Qingchen's inner circle, suddenly closing the distance between him and Mu Qingchen. Xiaopinggan turned his elbows outward, protecting his head while avoiding the outer sole of Mu Qingchen's leg, which is the most lethal area, and cut into the upper part of Mu Qingchen's calf. In actual combat, it is used to hit people from time to time. Because of the leverage principle, the strength will be weakened a lot. While Xiaopinggan forcefully received Mu Qingchen's whip kick, he shoveled his right foot out from the ground and kicked the side of Mu Qingchen's left knee joint from the side. Mu Qingchen's leg was caught by Xiaopinggan's hands, but Mu Qingchen didn't even have time to react to Xiaopinggan's kick. Because it was so fast, it was as if both parties had agreed to use this move at the same time, and Mu Qingchen seemed to have joined in on it himself. Crack! The side of the knee of Mu Qingchen's left leg was directly broken by Xiaopinggan's kick. The kneecap of the left leg was exposed at once, and the calf of the left leg twisted inwards. Mu Qingchen's whole face was distorted, his body tilted to the side, and he just let out a scream. Before he could fall down, Xiaopinggan turned around and kicked him with a second roundhouse kick, directly hitting him. Mu Qingchen's face was so kicked that it was deformed. The braces and 7 or 8 teeth in Mu Qingchen's mouth spurted out directly from his mouth. He spun around and turned 720 degrees in the air. He was kicked by Xiaopinggan from the ring, spinning and falling heavily to the ring. On the ground outside, he fainted. The game only started for a second, and the two sides just passed a move, and the winner was determined in an instant. Everyone in the audience looked at each other, some of them couldn't believe that this fight would end like this. There is no fighting between dragons and tigers, there is no back and forth, and the one being abused is actually Mu Qingchen. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 76. Yan Duo was also stunned in the audience. He looked at Mu Qingchen, who was lying on the ground, and rubbed his eyes. The flash of lightning just now was just like what Mu Qingchen and Xiaopinggan had practiced hundreds of times in cooperation with each other. It was so damn clean and tidy. Xiaopinggan took a step forward at the same time, protecting his head with both hands and feet. Kicked out, integrating offense and defense, practicing thousands of times, while receiving Mu Qingchen's fierce kick, he severely injured Mu Qingchen in an instant. Xiaopinggan's move was the perfect solution to Mu Qingchen's attack. Even if he came to power, he would not be able to defeat Mu Qingchen so cleanly. Did the two of them discuss this? Yan Duo couldn't help but become suspicious. He just glanced at the leg of Mu Qingchen, who had fallen unconscious on the ground. Yan Duo couldn't help but feel chills running down his spine. It's hard to say whether Mu Qingchen was disfigured this time, but his left leg was definitely it's useless. I don't know when I will recover. If it wasn't agreed upon, then unless Xia Ping'an had figured out that Mu Qingchen would use this attack and had already thought of a response plan, otherwise it wouldn't have been so neat and perfect. The entire training ground was quiet. No one expected that this contest would end like this. As soon as the game started, the winner was decided in just 1 second. If it was a real life and death fight, and Mu Qingchen was already dead now, Xia Ping'an's kick on his face should be changed to another place, behind the ear or at the temple, with a stronger force or downwards. Can kick his head off or break his cervical vertebra, not just lose a few teeth. Mu Qingchen lost one of his legs in one move by Xia Ping'an, and fell to the ground with heavy injuries, unconscious. Damn it, Xia Ping'an is the real ruthless person. The other summoners of the demon suppressing guard looked at Xia Ping'an at this time, and their eyes changed. Send the injured to the hospital. The old man's voice sounded calmly, suddenly waking up everyone in the venue. After saying this, the old man stood up, took a deep look at Xia Ping'an on the ring, turned around and left the training ground without saying another word. Xia Ping'an also got dressed and left the training ground calmly. Under the attention of everyone, he continued to go upstairs to complete his 400-meter military obstacle course. Just 2 minutes later, everyone in the office of Mr. Mo Yan of the Xianghe City Order Committee looked at each other in shock. Everyone was originally waiting for the news here, and everyone was on tenterhooks, but the news they received made everyone equally stunned, thinking that they were misheard. It wasn't until Mo Yan Shao asked someone to send over the surveillance video of the game that everyone believed it was true. The match ended in just 1 second. Mu Qingchen broke his left leg and lost an unknown number of teeth. He was kicked out of the ring by Xia Ping'an and was sent directly to the provincial hospital to stay with Li Yunzhe. Xia Ping'an was unscathed. That lightning strike instantly determined the outcome. Ha ha ha, I said that boy will not let everyone down. Tupolu was the first to laugh wildly and slapped his thigh in joy. It seems that the boundary beads we sent yesterday have worked. No, Mu Qingchen is not a rookie. How could he be severely injured by Xia Ping'an in the ring with just one move? Chen Yishan was also a little dazed. This move may be a coincidence. Xia Ping'an's response is so perfect. And Qing's face became strange. No matter how much he does, it's impossible for Mu Qingchen to act with his legs. Who can let him abuse himself like this? Tupolu said carelessly, I wonder what Mu Qingchen will do in the future. Furious. Xia Ping'an trained in the venue all morning, and when he went to eat at noon, he found that everyone in the demon suppressing guard looked at him as if he were avoiding the plague. The place where he sat was all empty. No one dared to sit except Yan Duo. Come over. Almost everyone kept a distance from Xia Ping'an, and no one said hello, only the attention salute from a distance. Although you won this time, Mu Qingchen was injured so seriously. Everyone knows that you offended Mu Qingchen and the Gao family this time, so naturally you have to avoid suspicion. Yan Duo was eating food in the cafeteria. Sea Cucumber regretted heartlessly, if I had known you could win so neatly, we would have set up a bet before and made it a banker. By the way, that move between you and him was not something that was agreed upon yet. Try your luck. Xia Ping'an's expression did not change. Why do I not believe it so much? Believe it or not, Xia Ping'an shrugged. By the way, as soon as Mu Qingchen woke up in the hospital, he immediately asked to be treated at the Gao family's special care hospital. He was sent away by helicopter just now. I feel like he was a little afraid of what you might do next. Things are coming. Xia Ping'an secretly regretted it. He actually really wanted to do something. Mu Qingchen was so vengeful and it would be a disaster to keep him alive. In the ring in the morning, he couldn't kill him directly because he wanted to do it later. Looking for an opportunity, Mu Qingchen escaped so quickly that he didn't dare to stay at the provincial base for a moment. At this moment, his phone continued to vibrate. Xiaopinggan took out his phone and looked at it. There was a message asking him to go to the old man's office after dinner. After lunch, Xiaopinggan went directly to the old man's office to report. When Xiaopinggan entered the office, the old man was pruning a potted plant. After hearing Xiaopinggan's report, the old man put down the scissors and watering can, turned around, and asked Xiaopinggan to sit down. The fight in the morning was very exciting. I really didn't expect that there would be a genius like you among our demon-suppressing guards. The old man gave Xiaopinggan a deep look. It's a coincidence this morning. Xiaopinggan looked calm. Coincidence? The old man smiled slightly. Do you know how Einstein did experiments when he didn't have experimental equipment? The old man said, and without waiting for Xiaopinggan to answer, he pointed to his head. Many of Einstein's scientific experiments were completed in his brain. His brain was his laboratory. He could complete many complex experiments in his brain that could not be completed in the laboratory, because his brain it was so magical that after his death, his brain was stolen and studied. Except for Einstein, every time boxing champion Murray goes on stage, the battle between him and his opponent has been completed in his head. Every time he goes on stage, for him, it is just to complete the script in his head, so no one being able to defeat him with fists in the ring. The ancients of China called this ability to deduce reality in their heads the divine performance. Mu Qingchen's loss to you today is not an injustice. The old man has talked about it to this point, and Xiaopinggan doesn't admit or deny it. It's just the old man's vision and ability that Xiaopinggan secretly admires. Old man, when you come to me, don't you just want to praise me? Xiaopinggan asked. The old man suddenly sighed slightly and his eyes deepened. If it were another time and we had more time, I would train you to be the strongest summoner in Yizhou province. You can be at my position in the future, or even more. Take a step further and become famous all over the world. You are fully qualified and your achievements will be far higher than mine. Old man, you are too flattering. I'm not overly impressed. I've only been here for a few days to suppress the demon guard, and you have already fused 3 world beads. One of them is a black box world bead. The other 2 world beads are very difficult to fuse, but you have successfully fused them. I haven't seen such a summoner for a long time. The upper limit of your divine power in the secret mandala has reached 160 points. This value has exceeded many people in the demon suppressing guard. This is a genius. Your growth rate is astonishing. Perhaps Mo Yan's greatest contribution to the Order Committee is recruiting you to the Order Committee. Xiaopinggan's heart tightened suddenly. How did the old man know? The old man waved his hand gently. Don't worry, I just have the ability to feel the upper limit of other people's divine power, and in Yizhou, if I don't even know that the world beads sold in the summoner are flowing to me, Yizhou I took this position as chairman of the Provincial Committee for National Order for nothing. Old man, you said I'm under a lot of pressure. Why did you come to me? Xiaopinggan smiled bitterly. The old man looked at Xiaopinggan with deep and wise eyes. It's nothing, I just want to talk to you. You severely injured Mu Qingchen this time. In the future, you should pay more attention to a caster who can make magic weapons. The energy sometimes exceeds your imagination. Mu Qingchen is not alone. I understand, thank you for reminding me. Well, it's okay, you can go. Xiaopinggan walked to the door and suddenly thought of something. He turned around and glanced at the old man. Old man, can I ask you a question? What is the problem? Do you believe that the evil eye said that the true coming of the Holy Spirit will come soon? Do you believe it? The old man asked. Xiaopinggan nodded. I believe it too, and I believed it a long time ago, the old man said with some emotion. Xiaopinggan said nothing more, bowed slightly to the old man, and then left. After Xiaopinggan left, the old man murmured to himself with infinite melancholy, what a pity. No one knows what the old man is regretting. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 77. Time is like sand in an hourglass, passing by day by day. After competing with Mu Qingchen in the ring, Xiaopinggan's days at the provincial headquarters began to calm down. There were no more troubles, and no one came to find trouble. Every day he just trained, read, and occasionally called Xianing. As for Li Yunzhou, he probably lost some face. After 2 days of competing between Xiaopinggan and Mu Qingchen in the ring, he returned to the hospital in Xianghe City to recuperate. After Li Yunzhou left, almost no one in the entire demon-suppressing guard, except He Yanduo, was willing to take the risk of making enemies and talk to Xiaopinggan. It was a leisurely life. June passed in the blink of an eye, and it was July before we knew it. July is the day for the college entrance examination for senior high school students in Dian Kingdom. During the 3 days of July 6th, 7th, and 8th, Yangguo's college entrance examination attracted worldwide attention, and Yizhou province selected students who were qualified to integrate Yizhou in this year's college entrance examination physical examination, because Yizhou province relaxed the standards and screened the number of students coming out was twice as many as in previous years, which became the biggest news in Dian country in July. In addition, starting from late June, various cities and towns throughout Yizhou province began to hold intensive anti-space invasion exercises. The exercises here are in full swing, and from late June to July, a very abnormal phenomenon occurred around the world. For almost a month, no country in the world had a single space invasion incident, even the lowest level. There is no H-class space invasion either. Many in the media are still cheering, thinking this is a good sign. Xiaopinggan felt more and more urgent and wrong. The calm in July seemed more like the negative pressure effect of a fire to Xiaopinggan. In addition to the fact that there was no space invasion, the Devil's Eye, which was originally active, suddenly stopped in late June. By July, the Devil's Eye was completely silent. There is something strange about this calmness, which is not a good thing. The entire Yizhou Demon Guard is already facing a formidable enemy. On July 21st, extreme weather and geological disasters around the world began to increase dramatically. More than 10 volcanoes in Hawaii and the East began erupting on this day, with tens of millions of people affected. Floods and landslides in southern Peru have inundated countless villages. Japan encountered a tsunami and many coastal cities were submerged. Several volcanoes erupted in Indonesia. Many European countries have been hit by rare tornadoes and polar storms. India earthquake. Floods broke out in southeastern China. A rare locust plague broke out in Nanguangzhou and Africa. The whole world, after July 21st, seemed to be put into vibration mode. 10 days later, starting from August 1st, the moon seen around the world will all turn red from this day on. The red moon is an ominous omen and a symbol of evil in both Eastern and Western civilizations. From an Eastern perspective, the red moon represents the growth of evil spirits that overwhelm righteousness, which is why there is a red moon. However, from a Western perspective, the red moon is the eye of the devil. When the red moon begins to appear, panic ensues across the globe. After the red moon lasted for 3 days, on August 4th, over the Eurasian continent, an unprecedented huge space rift with a width of more than 300 kilometers and a length of more than 7,200 kilometers opened in just a few minutes. Suddenly appearing in the atmosphere more than 1,500 kilometers above the ground, looking from the ground in many countries in Eurasia, the huge crack in the sky caused by the space crack is like the blood-red mouth of the devil grinning in the sky. The most frightening thing is that the large space crack is still crawling, expanding, and getting bigger. Such space cracks have almost never appeared in human history. Everyone felt something was wrong. That is to say, starting from August 4th, abnormal natural disasters, the appearance of a red moon that lasted for many days and huge space cracks suddenly spread across the world. Panic spread across the world, and panic buying of supplies and riots occurred in many cities around the world. Paris became the most violent city in Europe. On the streets of Tokyo, a cult promoting doomsday theories organized a parade of tens of thousands of people, which eventually turned into vandalism, smashing, and looting. The citizens of Cairo clashed fiercely with the military and police because they were rushing to buy water and biological supplies, and the whole city was in flames. Great Yan Kingdom was not spared. Starting from August 8, huge riots occurred in many cities in Dian due to panic buying of daily necessities. The president of Dian had to declare a national emergency, and many cities began to impose curfews. For a time, various cities in Dian public security cases began to surge. Everything happened so unexpectedly, that is, starting from August 8, Xiaopinghan, who had stayed at the provincial base for more than a month because of his remote viewing capabilities, suddenly started to become busy, with various tasks coming one after another. In the evening of August 14, a gray Falcon helicopter flew quickly among the mountains southeast of Xinquan City. Under the helicopter, there was a vast pine forest. Xiaopinghan was sitting on the helicopter, leaning back on the seat a little tiredly, listening to a member of the SWAT team next to him introducing the situation to him. In the past few days, Xiaopinghan took on 6 tasks non-stop, and ran almost all over Yizhou province, participating in fire rescue, searching for members of the Devil's Eye organization, providing disaster relief, and handling 2 suspected zombie virus infections. He completed a mission and returned to the provincial headquarters at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Less than 2 hours after returning to the provincial headquarters, he took a hot bath and half-eaten meal, and a new mission came again. This is an extremely dangerous person named Lin Kun. He once served in the Marine Corps of the Great Yan Kingdom. He was wanted for breaking into a house and robbing a rich man in Donghu province some time ago. On the way to the wanted place, he was killed. 11 people, including 7 police officers, fled from Donghu province to Yizhou province. He holds automatic weapons, has rich jungle survival and combat experience, and has strong anti-tracking capabilities. We have already lost our lives in this forest. 2 special forces members, so they had to ask for help from the order committee. As the captain of the SWAT team said this, he showed Xiaopinghan a picture of Lin Kun. Lin Kun in the photo has a short haircut, a pair of sunglasses, a black vest and camouflage military pants. The background is on an aircraft carrier in the Yan Kingdom. This photo should be from when Lin Kun was serving in the military. Photos taken at the time. Xiaopinghan took the photo, looked at it carefully, and told the member of the SWAT team, "Just drop us down at the last place where his traces were found." More than 20 minutes later, the Falcon helicopter dropped Xiaopinghan and 3 soldiers from the Quick Reaction Force of the Order Committee in an open space in a forest. The 3 soldiers from the Quick Reaction Force came here to cooperate with Xiaopinghan. Searching for Lin Kun. According to the plan, Xiaopinghan only needed to use remote viewing capabilities to locate Lin Kun, and then command 3 soldiers from the Quick Reaction Force to kill Lin Kun, and the mission would be completed. For a summoner with remote viewing ability, this task is actually a piece of cake, it just takes a little effort. The helicopter flew away in an instant. Xiaopinghan took out his mobile phone and looked at it. There was no signal here at all, but the 3 soldiers of the Quick Reaction Force who followed him carried a satellite phone. At this moment, the sun is about to set, and on the west side of the forest, the remaining sun rays are moving little by little toward the eastern peaks. My name is Xiaopinghan, and I hope we can have a pleasant cooperation. These 3 soldiers of the Quick Reaction Force are all new to Xiaopinghan. They were temporarily assigned tasks. They were only met when they got on the plane. They are also subordinates of the Order Committee. Deployed from the Quick Reaction Force. My name is Guo Jun, this is Su Xiaoqiang, and this is Li Jinming. Guo Jun, one of the 3 soldiers from the Quick Reaction Force, introduced himself and his 2 companions to Xiaopinghan. Guo Jun had a look on his face. The smile looked very enthusiastic. I am the leader of a 3-person combat team. I am very happy to cooperate with you this time. The other two people also smiled at Xiaopingan. Looking at the smiles of the other two people, Xiaopingan's eyes narrowed slightly, but the expression on his face remained unchanged. After discovering the target, I will try not to put you in danger. If necessary, you can decide on your own battle plan. It doesn't matter, we believe you. Guojun smiled enthusiastically and looked around. In which direction should we search now? Wait a minute, I can use the summoned object to track, Xiaopingan said with a smile, and he didn't see any movement. He just stamped his feet, and the black dragon emerged from Xiaopingan's shadow. Woof woof. The black dragon was also summoned, and it immediately showed hostility towards the three people. It bared its teeth, lay on the ground with its forelimbs, and barked at the three people. Seeing Xiaopingan summoning the powerful black dragon in the blink of an eye, Guojun and the other three were startled. They each took a step back and exchanged glances. Don't be afraid. This is my summon. It can track people like a hunting dog based on their breath and the smell of blood remaining in the air. Seeing the expressions of the three people, Xiaopingan smiled, we just need to follow the black dragon. Just go, black dragon, lead the way. The black dragon roared low in its throat, but still turned around and headed into the forest. Follow me. Su Xiaoqiang and Li Jinming followed the black dragon and walked towards the forest. Guojun smiled warmly at Xiaopingan and stood next to Xiaopingan. You are a summoner. You can't make any mistakes. I will protect you from behind you. You're right, Xiaopingan smiled and followed Su Xiaoqiang and Li Jinming towards the forest. Guojun was right behind Xiaopingan. This is deep in the mountains. There are no people in the forest, and there are towering trees all around. No one may have set foot in these places for decades, and the ground is full of fallen corpses left behind over the years. Pine needles and fallen pine cones. Less than 5 minutes after entering the forest, Guojun, who was following Xiaopingan, took stock of his surroundings. Looking at Xiaopingan, his eyes slowly began to become strange and cold. The muzzle of the gun in his hand also quietly raised. Rise. Just when Guojun's gun was pointed at Xiaopingan's back, his finger quietly placed on the trigger, and murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Xiaopingan, who was walking in front, suddenly swayed and turned around. He stood up, facing Guojun, with a hint of mockery in his eyes. Guojun was taken aback and instinctively wanted to pull the trigger, but Xiaopingan's hand quickly brushed over the locking device of the assault rifle in his hand. When Guojun pulled the rifle, the trigger could not be pulled. At the same time, the aorta in Guojun's neck had been cut open directly by the dagger in Xiaopingan's hand, and blood spurted out. The black dragon leading the way turned around and pounced out almost at the same time. Before Su Xiaoqiang, who was following the black dragon, could react, he was thrown to the ground by the black dragon. The black dragon directly bit Su Xiaoqiang's throat, killing Su Xiaoqiang's throat. Throat bitten. Li Jinming suddenly turned around and wanted to shoot behind him with a gun. Xiaopingan threw the dagger in his hand fiercely at him, pouring the dagger directly from the socket of Li Jinming's right eye into his brain, leaving only a hilt. In the blink of an eye, the three of them fell down. Xiaopingan was unhurt, and the black dragon was still biting Su Xiaoqiang's throat. Xiaopingan quickly took off the silent pistol from Guojun's leg, kicked the assault rifle from Guojun's hand, walked to the front, and shot Su Xiaoqiang twice in the head, who was still struggling on the ground. The silent pistol made 2 slight muffled sounds, and 2 bloody holes appeared on Su Xiaoqiang's head. The black dragon finally released its bite on Su Xiaoqiang's neck. After another shot in Li Jinming's head, Xiaopingan finally took the gun and walked with Heilong to Guojun, who fell on the ground. The black muzzle of the gun was pointed at Guojun, who fell on the ground. Guojun was covered in blood, his hands covering the wound on his neck in vain, his eyes staring at Xiaopingan in horror and helplessness. "Who sent you here?" Xiaopingan asked, shooting Guojun in the knee, and the bullet exploded into a ball of blood. Guojun's body trembled, and he raised his voice. It's Mu Qingchen. He told us that after the matter is completed, each of us will be given 10 million, and we can still receive high praise, take care of the family, be promoted and make a fortune in the future. From the moment the Black Dragon was summoned and barked at these three people, Xiaopinggan was sure that these three people had murderous intentions towards him, and he had already guessed something in his mind. The corners of Xiaopinggan's lips pursed. This answer was not beyond his expectation. Mu Qingchen, that trash, couldn't help but start playing dirty tricks. The silent pistol rang again, and a bullet was poured into Guojun's head. The three people on the ground were completely motionless. After looking at the three corpses on the ground, Xiaopinggan's eyes moved and he looked into the distance of the forest. The next second, Xiaopinggan and the Black Dragon quickly left here and disappeared into the forest. Half an hour later, two strong figures flew from the distance in the forest. The two men glanced at the three corpses on the ground, and one of them cursed, "What a waste! Chase!" The two looked at each other, waved their hands, one summoned 4 slave soldiers, and the other summoned a tiger. The tiger sniffed the ground, and then chased directly in the direction where Xiaopinggan left, and then the slave soldiers followed behind, and the two men chased after the 4 slave soldiers. The book will be officially released tomorrow. Thank you all for your support. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 78. August 15, 2019, this day, the Ghost Festival, is both the 15th day of the solar calendar and the 15th day of the lunar calendar. In the past, this day was a day worth celebrating for all summoners, but today was different. At night, a blood-red full moon appeared in the sky, as if it had been wiped with blood. After night falls, the sky of Great Yan Kingdom turns blood-red under the light of the blood moon. The oppressive breath comes from the sky, making the earth silent. The insects that usually become noisy at this time are as silent as cicadas. No longer tweeting. The birds refused to return to their nests. It was already night, but across the world, large flocks of birds were flying in the sky, constantly chirping shrilly. Today, dozens of bird aircraft collisions have occurred around the world. Dolphins and whales are stranded on beaches all over the world. Tens of billions of locusts, like dark clouds, covering the sky and the sun, rushed into the cities of Africa and Guangzhou, violently hitting the tall buildings in the cities, and the bodies of the locusts fell from the sky like raindrops. During the fall, the glass windows of more than one building were smashed by locusts. The locusts invaded the building through the broken windows, biting and smashing indiscriminately. Many cities were plunged into chaos due to locust invasion. Turn on the radio, TV stations, and various online media, and you will see all kinds of news that makes people tremble. In the cities where riots occurred before, today, the riots have reached a climax. Various short videos that spread quickly on the internet amplified people's panic instantly. Europe, Asia, Guangzhou. China, Yangguo, France, Germany, Japan, Russia, the Middle East. In the anti-space invasion command centers of almost all major powers, big figures such as the President, Prime Minister, and Defense Minister are all watching the real-time surveillance images from satellites with trembling fear. The huge space crack that appeared over the Eurasian continent began to expand rapidly from 19:33 p.m. Yanjing time, 14:33 p.m. Greenwich time. The space crack, which was originally more than 7,000 kilometers long, began to expand rapidly. In less than half an hour, it more than doubled in size to more than 15,000 kilometers, covering the entire Eurasian continent. At the same time, huge space cracks began to appear in the sky of Guangzhou, Africa, and other places. These space cracks spread all over the sky, like bloody vines extending from the sky, and began to connect bit by bit, gradually connecting the city. Blockbusters. By 9:30 p.m., Yanjing time, from the ground in Beiguangzhou, a huge space crack had opened in the sky, spanning north and south, with a length of more than 10,000 kilometers. The sky was like a burnt hole, split open through it. Will nuclear weapons be launched into the gradually expanding space cracks? The heads of major countries are in urgent consultation. The lessons learned from the British Isles are right in front of us. Nuclear weapons cannot solve the threat of space invasion. On the contrary, they may make space invasion more difficult to deal with. Most countries do not agree to launch nuclear bombs into space cracks, but Russia wants to try. The entire sky was burning like fire, and everything as far as the eye could see was a strange dark red. Traffic in the entire Xinquan city has long since been paralyzed. Some Xinquan citizens hid in designated underground shelters as required, but many citizens ignored the curfew order and fled the city with their families. The roads throughout the city were piled high. The vehicles were stopped, and the drivers were honking their horns frantically. The sound of horns converged into a torrent on the highways. At 9:47, Wang Zai walked out of the War Command Center and came to the outside of the provincial headquarters building, holding a dragon-headed cane. When he walked out of the main entrance of the building, the old man turned his head and glanced. On the lawn next to the building, ants were pouring out from the ground and moving. When he raised his head, in the bloody sky, there were still a large group of meadowlarks that had not returned. The nest, flying in the sky, screams. The newly formed Yazoo Demon Guards and Quick Reaction Force have all been sent out by the old man to perform different tasks. At this moment, there are not many people left in the provincial headquarters. The Rapid Reaction Force must maintain order in Xinquan City and several surrounding areas, protect important facilities such as electricity and water sources, and prevent the spread of riots. The demon-suppressing guards were divided into multiple teams and different task groups to guard various parts of Yazoo to deal with major changes. For some reason, the old man who looked up at the sky suddenly thought of Xiaopinggan. He turned his head and looked at his assistant Pan Lin. Is there any news about Xiaopinggan? We have lost contact for more than 24 hours, and there is no news from the 3 Special Forces members who were working with Xiaopinggan, Pan Lin replied. Have been out of contact for 24 hours, the old man frowned slightly. Yes, Pan Lin looked at the old man's darkened expression and asked in a low voice, are we going to send out a search team? No need, what was supposed to happen has already happened, the old man shook his head and sighed, it's going to rain, my mother wants to get married, let him do it. The rise and fall of fortune and misfortune can sometimes happen in just a thought. That's right. Where is Yan Duo? He led the Yanzi battalion to participate in the anti-narcotics forces operation a few days ago, and he is still performing the mission. At this moment, a shrill and whimpering alarm suddenly sounded in the building behind the old man. Pan Lin's expression changed. Old man, please enter the emergency shelter immediately. Not only the provincial headquarters building sounded the alarm, almost at the same time, the anti-space invasion alarms of the entire Xinquan, the entire Yazoo province, and all the cities in Dian rang loudly. The old man shook his head and looked up at the sky. I'm not going anywhere, I'm just watching from here. Amid the shrill sirens, the orange-red light in the sky outside became brighter and brighter. More than 10 seconds later, a flaming meteorite emerged from the crack in space, broke through the clouds, lit up the entire sky, fell towards the ground, and hit the wilderness in the distance, making a violent roar. Explosion. Just 1 minute later, 1, 2, 3, 100, thousands of more and more flaming meteorites began to fall from the sky, tearing away the clouds in the sky and falling to the ground. Europe, Africa, Asia, Guangzhou, everywhere are facing the same situation. When the first fire meteorite fell, it was still daytime in China. In Toulon, France, a huge fire meteorite fell directly on an aircraft carrier parked in the military port, smashing an aircraft carrier of the French Navy into 2 pieces and causing huge waves on the sea. As the fire meteorites continued to fall, in just a few minutes, France's largest military port and the warships parked in the military port suffered heavy losses and were in a mess. Under the fire, smoke, explosions, and the waves that crashed onto the embankment, the entire Toulon began to fall into chaos. In Japan's Mount Fuji, as the first fire meteorite fell on the top of Mount Fuji, the long-dormant Mount Fuji began to shake violently, like an awakened monster, and blood-red magma began to erupt from the top of the mountain. In China, falling fire meteorites hit the ancient Great Wall, and the mountains trembled. All over the world, countless fire meteorites emerged from the huge space cracks in the sky and fell rapidly towards the ground. The petrochemical plant at the largest port on the west coast of the Great Yan Kingdom was hit by a fire meteorite. The petrochemical plant exploded violently, and the entire port turned into a sea of flames. The Kremlin was completely reduced to pieces under a fire meteorite. Ginza, Tokyo, Japan was turned into ruins and a living hell under the attack of fire meteorites. Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris collapsed in flames. Those oil refineries in the Middle East were like ignited gasoline barrels under the attack of fire meteorites, with thick smoke covering the sky. Explosions and fire lights lit up on the ground, and the whole earth was shaking. A fire meteorite landed in the base of the Yizhou Provincial National Order Committee's Rapid Reaction Force, only more than 1,000 meters away from where Xiaoping'an and the others were. Standing in the base of the National Order Committee of Yizhou Province, you can already feel the ground shaking under your feet. Another fire meteorite fell in the military camp. This time, it was closer to Xiaoping'an and the others, only 400 to 500 meters away. The third fire meteorite fell from the sky with flames and thick smoke, smashing several antennas and signal transmission towers on the top of the auxiliary building next to the Order Committee Provincial Building, shattering the two-story building, and the meteorite fell on the Order Committee in the open space 200 meters away in front of the committee building. A big hole was made in the ground in an instant. The violent explosions and shock waves, accompanied by raging flames, shattered all the glass outside the Order Committee Provincial Building. Countless broken glass scattered from the building, and the black building looked like snow. Just as the shock wave and flames of the explosion were about to sweep away, the old man raised his hand, and a huge ice-blue water cover was like a huge pot lid, covering the entire provincial building in a rippling water cover. In Xinquan City in the distance, when the meteorites fell, fires were already burning, and thick smoke rose into the sky. In the center of Xinquan City, there were two buildings with a height of more than 300 meters that were visible to the naked eye from the provincial capital. The skyscraper was cut in half by the fire meteorite and collapsed suddenly. Further on the ground, anti-aircraft missiles and anti-ballistic missiles soared from the ground, like white arrows shot from the earth, with streaks of white light, desperate and without hesitation. Shoot into the orange-red night sky that has been completely burned to meet those huge meteorites falling from the sky. But the number of those missiles was like a drop in the bucket compared to the meteorites falling from the sky with flames. The entire Dian, the entire Guangzhou, almost all countries in the world, those densely populated cities, military bases, ports, almost all over the world are being baptized by the fire meteorites falling from the sky at this moment. The earth is shaking. Buildings are collapsing. The cities groaned in pain amidst the fire and smoke. When the first fire meteorite fell, Xiaoping'an was lurking like a cheetah, waiting for prey to enter his ambush circle. Xiaoping'an raised his head and looked at the sky. The crack in the sky seemed to be spraying fire rain. The moment the devil's eye spoke of has finally come. Tonight is a night of earth shaking and a night of murder. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 79. There is already a fire burning in the mountain forest. All kinds of animals are running away in panic. When another burning fire meteorite flew over his head with a loud rumbling sound, and landed in the valley in the distance, causing a huge noise. Xiaopinggan looked at the prey that had stepped into his trap and moved his hands without hesitation. Xiaopinggan was merciless in his attacks. As soon as he took action, the two summoners who had been tracking him for a day were instantly put into a desperate situation. Two summoned large nets suddenly fell from the sky. One large net caught a tiger and 4 slave soldiers in front, and a large net behind instantly trapped the two tracking summoners. The moment the two big nets fell, the 4 elite slave soldiers who had been ambushing around them also jumped out. The elite slave soldier who jumped out ignored the 5 preys struggling in a ball in the big net in front. Instead, he directly took out the throwing gun on his back and threw the throwing gun at the two summoners in the net in front. The spears thrown by the elite slave soldiers are powerful and heavy, with hundreds of hits. They are humanoid weapons within 50 meters. Elite slave soldiers. A summoner trapped in the net let out a scream of horror and despair. He never expected that the slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopinggan were actually elite slave soldiers. Amid the screams, 2 blood-red spears passed directly through the summoner's chest and abdomen, instantly nailing the summoner to the ground. As soon as the summoner died, the 4 slave soldiers in front who were still struggling in the big net turned into points of light and disappeared almost instantly. In the big net in front, for a while, there was only one tiger trapped in the big net, roaring continuously, struggling to rush out of the big net, but the big net that trapped the tiger, the struggle became tighter and tighter, and the tiger truly became the prey trapped in the net. When another summoner in the big net was throwing his spear next to him, an ice blue water shield appeared on his hand, and he also had a pair of leather armor on his body. The water shield suddenly blocked the 2 throwing spears. Seeing the companions who came with him die tragically in an instant, the summoner had no choice but to fight with all his strength. The moment he blocked the spear with a water shield, he pointed out with one hand and shouted, "Slave soldiers!" Xuanhuan flashed in an instant, the entire 12 slave soldiers appeared around his body and rushed towards the 4 slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopinggan. The elite slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopinggan had already taken the second throwing spear in their hands, threw 4 throwing spears, and instantly killed the 4 slave soldiers that rushed over. Without waiting for the elite slave soldiers, they took out the third one. A throwing spear was thrown, and the other 8 slave soldiers rushed over with spears and approached. In the blink of an eye, they were fighting 2 against 1 with Xiaopinggan's elite slave soldiers. The next second after the summoner trapped in the net summoned the water shield, a ball of hot flames ignited on his body, directly burning the big net trapping him. Bang 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 bang. Xiaopinggan rushed out from the side, the M in his hand spitting out tongues of fire, and fired continuously at the summoner who had just escaped from the big net, firing .50 magnum bullets one by one, flying towards the vital parts of the summoner's body. The summoner rolled on the spot, and then he bounced up from the ground like a cheetah. His body curled up and twisted in the air. The moment he landed, he stretched and rolled, and then he lunged out from behind the trees next to him. 6 bullets were fired, and only 1 bullet bloomed on the summoner's thigh, causing a ball of blood to bloom. The summoner grunted and stagnated slightly when he finally threw himself behind the bushes. Xiaopinggan had already rushed forward in sync with him. While he was in the air, a fireball flew out and shot towards the summoner's back. The summoner waved his hand and also cast a fireball. The 2 fireballs exploded into a ball of flames in the air, just like setting off a firework, and disappeared directly. The moment Xiaopinggan landed, a black scimitar was already slashing towards Xiaopinggan. The one holding the knife was the injured summoner, with fierce eyes, deadly moves, and impeccable reflexes. With a kick on the blade, the dark scimitar swung to the side, revealing the summoner's empty door. The summoner's leg was injured, and his body's movement speed was a little slower. He was not as agile as Xiaopinggan. With just a chance, Xiaopinggan's fists directly hit the summoner's waist, causing the summoner to vomit blood and fly backwards again. Just when Xiaopinggan wanted to continue his pursuit of victory, a ball of fire flew towards him again. The summoner who fell to the ground cast spells too fast. Xiaopinggan just wanted to use the fireball to counteract the attack with the fireball, but for some reason, his heart suddenly tightened. He rolled on the spot without thinking, jumped to the side, and avoided it. The fireball hit a big tree behind Xiaopinggan, and the whole tree suddenly burned. Behind the fireball was a murderous intention, and there was also a transparent ice edge hidden like an arrow. The ice edge was like an arrow, it was directly submerged half a foot into the trunk of the tree. If Xiaopinggan had used the fireball technique to fight the opponent just now, he would have really fallen into the opponent's backhand, and he might have been pierced by the flying ice edge in an instant. Life and death are just a matter of thoughts. Xiaopinggan, who had avoided the fireball and ice edge, jumped out again, chased after him, and then released the fireball in his hand. The other party released a fireball again, which offset Xiaopinggan's fireball, and set off another brilliant fireworks in the forest. Fireworks exploded, and the light was dazzling. The black dragon that had been hiding next to him finally found an opportunity to pounce from the bushes nearby, biting the man's calf and tearing off a piece of bloody flesh. Ah! The summoner screamed, and the next second, the black dragon's body was pierced by two ice edges and turned into light points and dissipated. At the same time, 8 more slave soldiers were summoned by the summoner, and they immediately surrounded Xiaopinggan. The summoner was desperately trying his best. From the ambusher to the siege, Xiaopinggan's identity changed in just an instant. However, when the black dragon's body was penetrated, Xiaopinggan had already used this short time difference to rush close enough to the summoner. The summoner summoned the slave soldiers very quickly, but just this gap was enough for Xiaopinggan to make a move. The sound of a whip tip sounded in the air. At the same time that the black dragon's body was pierced, the tail of the black rattlesnake, 5 meters away, avoided the summoner's leather armor like a bullet. Like a fatal blow from a rattlesnake leaping out of the darkness, it instantly pierced the center of the summoner's brow. The tail of the black rattlesnake's steel whip sank directly into the summoner's head, and then retracted like lightning, dripping blood. Non-stick. Almost the moment Xiaopinggan's black rattlesnake steel whip crushed the summoner's vitality, all the summoned objects summoned by the summoner stopped and stopped strangely. Among the several spears thrust out, the closest one was less than 1 meter away from Xiaopinggan. A drop of blood flowed from the wound between the summoner's eyebrows. The summoner stared at the black rattlesnake steel whip in Xiaopinggan's hand. He never dreamed that he would die under the whip. You the whip of, is good. After spitting out a few words, the summoner looked unwilling and regretful, and his whole body fell straight to the ground. Xiaopinggan was on the spot, panting violently. Although the exchange of blows just now was short, it was extremely dangerous between the rising of the rabbit and the falling of the falcon. This guy dared to chase him. He was really capable. He was too difficult to deal with. It's not that the other party doesn't know his trump card very well and has been ambushed by him again, he may not be able to win without paying a price this time. As the summoner fell, the tiger in the snare in the distance and all the slave soldiers summoned by the summoner also dissipated. 2 of Xiaopinggan's 4 elite slave soldiers had been eliminated in the previous fight, and only 2 elite slave soldiers survived. The strongest ability of elite slave soldiers is to throw spears. Once the enemy approaches and cannot use the spear, the advantages of elite slave soldiers compared with ordinary slave soldiers cannot be brought into play. In a hand-to-hand encounter, 1 elite slave soldier will be unable to deal with 2 ordinary slave soldiers. It's a bit difficult. The ambush and fighting were over, but the flaming meteorites in the sky did not stop, and balls of fire were erupting on the ground. Xiaopinggan raised his head and looked at the fires piercing the sky, his face solemn. Under such fire meteorite attacks, you can imagine what those big cities would look like. The fire meteorite that fell in the valley exploded, igniting the trees in the forest. There were already more than one fire spots in this mountain forest, and the fire lines in the forest quickly began to expand. I don't know what other cities are like, but judging from the rain of fire in the sky just now, the scope of the fire meteorite attack and the damage caused may be beyond imagination, and it will definitely be a catastrophe. Xiaopinggan searched the summoner who fell to the ground and took out an ID from a person. Xiaopinggan's expression suddenly changed. That certificate is the police card of Dian Kingdom. Just like Xiaopinggan's police card, a summoner carries a police card, indicating that the summoner's true identity is a summoner affiliated with the National Order Committee. Division. The issuing authority for the police card is the Police Department of Donghu Province, which is from the same place as the wanted Lin Kun. Xiaopinggan also found the same police certificate on the body of the summoner who was first killed. One of these two summoners was named Wu Kainian and the other was named Yang Bu. Chasing Lin Kun is a killing plan and a trap for himself. Looking at the two summoners who fell on the ground, Xiaopinggan's face was as dark as water. In addition to the police certificates, Xiaopinggan also found 2 first-level magic pills on these two guys, but there was nothing else. Seeing the fire spreading around him, Xiaopinggan disappeared into the mountains in the blink of an eye. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 80. Golden Summoner. The road became full of potholes, and the meteorites falling from the sky were large and small. When they fell on the ground, even the smallest ones would leave a big crater like a cannonball. An hour later, Xiaopinggan climbed over the hill and came to the road, trotting along the kilometer towards Xuanhuan city. The 2 elite slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopinggan and the Black Dragon summoned again are still closely following Xiaopinggan. Finally, Xiaopinggan saw a car parked on the road through the mountain wilderness. It was not one car, but dozens of cars. Because several cars collided on the road, a pickup truck was lying on the road. There was also an SUV that overturned on the road, and 2 cars rear-ended it, covering the ground with glass and blocking the road. There are street trees on both sides of the road. On the section behind the accident, all the cars were almost crowded together. At this moment, there was no one in those cars. On the nearby gravel ground, 100 meters away, there was a large crater left by the fire meteorite. The windows of many vehicles parked on the road had been shattered by the explosion when the fire meteorite hit the ground. The car was burning on the road, standing out in the dark. Xiaopinggan ran to the burning vehicle and saw 2 people in the driver's seat and passenger seat of the car. Those 2 people had been burned beyond recognition, like coke, and could no longer be saved. Look at those 2 people. It was a burning car. On the side of the car body close to the nearest crater, there was a huge crack nearly 1 meter long near the fuel tank, and the iron sheet of the car body was rolled over. Looking at the crack, Xiaopinggan could deduce that the reason why the car was burning was probably because it was hit by fragments of the meteorite explosion, and the vehicle was detonated. As a result, the people in the car were burned to death before they could even get out of the car. In the car. The reason why the vehicles behind were parked here was because a traffic accident occurred on the road in front and blocked the road, and fire meteorites fell from the sky. Therefore, in this case, the driver could only abandon the car and escape. This road is an ordinary highway. Vehicles on the road can turn around and return to Xuanhuan. This is better than walking by yourself. Xiaopinggan wants to get a car. Suddenly, Xiaopinggan saw someone in the driver's seat of an SUV among those cars, lying in front of the broken vehicle dashboard. He ran over quickly, reached through the broken window and opened the door. There was a lot of dark red blood on the dashboard. The driver was a young man in his 20s and 80s wearing glasses. His face was covered in blood. Xiaopinggan felt the pulse on the man's neck and found that the man had no pulse. Heartbeat, and then look at his head, there is a thumb-sized hole on the left side of the man's forehead. The hole faces the crater on the gravel ground in front of him. It may be the fragments or small holes that were splashed when the meteorite exploded. A stone hit his head and he died. 3 people have died on this small stretch of road. Xiaopinggan shook his head. There was no one in the cars behind. Xiaopinggan easily found another pickup truck. The door of the pickup truck was open and the key was still in the car. When the owner ran away, he didn't even have time to remove the key. Even though the glass on the car was broken, it could still be started. Xiaopinggan was just about to start the vehicle when he heard several crisp gunshots coming from the distant wilderness. Amidst the gunfire, a woman could be vaguely heard in the dark night. A piercing scream. As soon as he heard the gunfire, Xiaopinggan quickly jumped out of the car and rushed there. The 2 elite slave soldiers and the black dragon who had jumped into the carriage also rushed over after Xiaopinggan. Magic rat, everyone run quickly. Behind a hill, a group of people were running away in fear. A man in police uniform yelled, running, and firing 2 more shots at the charging demon rat. In this wilderness, the sound of gunshots can travel far. Those 2 shots hit the charging demon rat, which only slightly slowed down the momentum of the demon rat's forward movement. With the demon rat's lion-like body shape, it was caused by the addition of 2 not serious pistols on its body. The wound did not cause any fatal damage. The demon rat still rushed over, his expression even more fierce. On the gravel ground not far away, under the bloody moonlight in the sky, you can see that 3 people have fallen, a woman, an old man, and a middle-aged man. The 3 people are more than 10 steps apart, each with flesh and blood on their bodies. Vague. In addition to the devil rat that was chasing, there were 2 devil rats behind. 1 devil rat lay on the middle-aged man who fell on the ground. During the middle-aged man's struggle, he shook his head and shook his head. He bit off the middle-aged man's neck with his mouth, and the middle-aged man's head, still with a look of fear, rolled to the side. Another magic rat caught up with a woman running towards the other side in the blink of an eye. The woman was wearing high heels and couldn't run fast. In the blink of an eye, she was caught up by another demon rat and fell to the ground. The sharp claws tore open several bone-deep and terrifying wounds on the woman's body in the blink of an eye, exposing the woman's internal organs. The woman only screamed twice, and then became completely silent. There were 3 demon rats, and they suddenly appeared in this wilderness. The demon rat's bloody and ferocious eyes and bloody claws were like a nightmare to the people who had just come here to escape. The remaining dozens of people scattered in a hurry, and from time to time someone fell to the ground, and the woman let out a piercing scream. Pa bang bang. As the policeman ran, he shot at the magic rat. In the blink of an eye, the policeman's pistol was empty of bullets. Looking at the demon rat that pounced like a lion, in a hurry, the policeman who was changing the magazine stumbled on a stone under his feet and fell to the ground. The demon rat, which had been shot several times, rushed over quickly. Looking at the sharp, saw-toothed mouth of the demon rat, the policeman who fell to the ground was so busy that the magazine he just held in his hand suddenly fell to the ground again. It's over. The policeman who fell to the ground closed his eyes in despair. The moment the demon rat's fishy wind approached, the policeman who fell to the ground closed his eyes in despair, but he heard an angry cry in his ears, "Beast!" The black cobra's steel whip circled in the air. Before the demon rat tried to pounce on the policeman, the black cobra's steel whip had already struck the demon rat's head severely from a few meters away. The demon rat was pulled out of the air and fell to the ground, rolling twice and letting out an ear-piercing scream. As soon as the demon rat landed on the ground, it turned to look at Xiaopinggan, bared its teeth, showed an attacking posture, and rushed towards Xiaopinggan. The brave black dragon rushed forward like a bolt of lightning, and hit the demon rat's retreat with a single bite, drawing blood directly. The demonic rat turned and bit the black dragon, but the black dragon scurried away nimbly. A spear flew from a distance and penetrated the body of the demon rat directly, pinning the demon rat to the ground. The 2 elite slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopinggan arrived. One of the elite slave soldiers threw a spear and killed the demon rat directly. The other two demon rats not far away saw Xiaopingan and the elite slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopingan. Instead of running away, they bared their teeth and rushed towards Xiaopingan. The two elite slave soldiers summoned by Xiaopingan threw two throwing spears in succession. Puff, puff, twice, the two charging demon rats were pinned to the ground, and the battle ended in the blink of an eye. The elite slave soldiers are definitely the nemesis of the demon rat.